Hello and welcome to another word from the street and me, David Ford from Expert Link. So the perfect storm. I was on holiday last week in Cornwall when Storm Ellen battered the west coast, causing chaos to fellow campers. I was camping. This week I'm back in London and Storm Francis is pummelling the UK. But actually none of this compares to the perfect storm that's building in the homelessness sector right now. So let's step back a week or so. The weather was great. I was looking forward to a week in the van down in the West Country. The Next Steps accommodation programme with co-production written all over it had recently been launched. Yes, I know there were issues around time and guidance and local authorities' commitment to co-production, but at least co-production was finally on the agenda with MHCLG and the future was looking good long term. And all the hard work that Expert Link have been doing since the onset of COVID-19 seemed justified. I was well happy, as they say. Do you know, 10 days later, back at my desk, it looks as if the homeless sector is taking a battering worse than I did on holiday. Firstly, the eviction ban's been extended. Now, on the face of it, this sounds great, but before we all applaud, let's just stop and look at the facts, shall we? The ban is extended only by 4 weeks, which means that when it comes to the end of September, the courts will be open for business again. And even with a 6-month notice period, come the 1st of April 2021, there's a good chance that many people will find themselves on the streets. With no real plan in place and with almost 500,000 people at risk, you don't need an Eton education to work out the ramifications, do you? So the rough sleeper numbers rise during lockdown. So to add to the woes, StreetLink recently published their latest figures to show the dramatic rise in the reports of people sleeping rough from the public. Now, there may have been a whole bunch of factors contributing to this, but even so, with the Everyone In campaign, everyone should have been in, shouldn't they? The government claimed 90% success rate initially with the campaign. So how come StreetLink saw an increase of 36% year on year between April and June 2020? Homeless and Tsar-less. Dame Louise Casey has stepped down from her role as Homeless Hussar for the government. This is the biggie, by the way, guys. Straight talking, forthright and focused with a passion for people and ending rough sleeping. Dame Louise has left a vacuum that is going to be hard to fill. At the moment, the sector is leaderless and in serious need of finding a new leader who has the fortitude and courage that Dame Louise had. So a limited understanding of co-production. Limited understanding by some partners of what constitutes co-production, with partners conflicting co-production with consultation, is a quote directly out of Cordis Bright's evaluation on the meme or Making Every Adult Matter programme. That's this year's evaluation. This sits alongside some of the things that we have heard around Expert Link, around local authorities' understanding of co-production when developing their bids for the Next Steps accommodation programme. Cash-strapped councils. Councils, including my own, took the words of the government literally and did whatever it takes to protect people from COVID-19. This has led to a lot of them now struggling financially. My own are making 15% cuts across the board, which means up to 500 staff will lose their jobs. So where does this leave our community, those who are suffering from multiple disadvantage and the world of co-production? I have to say it's not looking good. With the numbers of reported rough sleepers seemingly on the rise, with an expectation of a steep rise next year, with Labour focusing on evictions and not those who are rough sleeping, with councils having to prioritise their spending, and my guess is those with multiple disadvantage will not score too high on the list. The sector without a czar, co-production seemingly too confusing for some and certainly not on the list of priorities. It's not looking good. So how can the voices of those suffering from multiple disadvantage be heard above the roar of this storm? And how can co-production fight the swell dragging it below the surface? Well, that's down to us, isn't it? Every single one of us that believes in the potential of people and the right for people to be heard. It's up to us to keep going. It's up to us to support one another. It's up to us to encourage one another. It's up to us to live up to the potential that we have and to amplify the voices of those in need. We can still challenge bad practice, celebrate good practice, support and enlighten others by sharing our knowledge and wisdom. Most of all, we can practice what we preach, leading by example. If you think times are going to get tough, you're right. You're damn right. They are. But when they are, just stop and look around you. The amazing people we have within our communities. Many of whom have suffered and survived more than we can ever imagine, with little or no resources, except for a sense of purpose and a belief that they can create their own world. Our purpose is to amplify the voices of those suffering with multiple disadvantages. We believe that co-production is the way to create the world that we want. And it's up to us to make sure that that happens. Well, that's enough for me for this week for Word from the Street. Enough of a news update and about storms. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us to amplify those voices that we're talking about, those suffering from multiple disadvantage. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen, and what do you think that we should do to combat this storm that's coming along? Until next time, guys, I love you all. Stay safe.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what.